Okay, good stuff. So, welcome everybody to LinkedIn for Breakfast. Fantastic to have you here. We're talking about the power of one, and actually, what does that mean, and where should you be focusing? And actually, should we give ourselves the gift of not trying to 1 minute dance the funky chicken on TikTok, whilst the next minute trying to put some highbrow political satire out in LinkedIn, or then starting to share photos of our kids going to school on their first day on Facebook? Should we actually try and focus ourselves just a little bit, and actually go deep, not wide? And that's what today is all about. And there'll be some aha moments that I can share with you, but also a few demos of how this actually comes to pass if you do focus. So here's the slide presentation for today. And just before we start, we always like to say, well, what is our mission here at LinkedIn for Breakfast? And the whole point of this is to be able to create a place where we can show how you can unlock the world's largest professional network for two things, really. One, for lead generation, that's that business development piece. That's the phone ringing and inbox pinging with inquiries, the leads. That's what we want. And the second part is brand expansion. So getting more people to know who you are, what you do, and what you're all about. And so it's that kind of big picture brand stuff, right? So those are the two elements that we do. We try and weave that into every presentation that we give. And my vision for this is to try and make it the best place on earth to learn LinkedIn for free. So tell your friends, invite them along, and we hope to be able to deliver on that promise. And part of that, a big part of that, is our free community, LinkedIn for Breakfast. So if you are not part of this, normally Flora very kindly puts into the chat the link to join. Just click on it. It's totally for free to join. But if you are watching this on the recording, then simply just type in LinkedIn for Breakfast into the Google. I'm sure ChatGPT will find it for you as well. And you can see here that we've got our school community here. So it's all based upon school and our LinkedIn community. And actually, a lot of people say, well, why didn't you not do a LinkedIn group to be able to house the LinkedIn? And actually, because we do a couple of things, like some of them are a little bit, we talk about things that are a little bit, say, gray area, such as using automation on LinkedIn, which automation tools to use, etc., then we don't kind of want to, wash our linen in LinkedIn's public when we're talking about that. Plus, we also have a cool thing called our pod. And what's a pod? It's basically using our collective members to be able to like and share each other's posts. You can see here that we're doing this. This was one 21 hours ago. And look, 870 of you lovely people were commenting, and we're posting our links to our different content, and then people are liking and sharing and supporting each other. So someone like Dave, who posted his most recent post here, which was a bit of a fun post actually. I thought this was quite good. He's ended up getting 38 comments, a load of likes and shares, and I'm sure this is then kicked on reach. We talk about this actually a bit on our LinkedIn for Breakfast, but what you'll see, and I'll just give you a bit of a insight into this. Oh no, have I lost my pen? Oh no, it's here. Put it where it should have been. Who would have thought? And so when we think about the reason why we do these engagement pods is that these posts have legs, right? So when you're doing any sort of posting, and so this is kind of impressions and also engagement. So that's kind of people looking at stuff, people liking stuff, people commenting and stuff. The more that happens over this one, which is time, then what happens is when you first post, if you don't get much, then the post just kind of flatlines, right? But if you can get a spike in that first kind of half an hour, 2 hours, you can get a spike on your post like this. So we can actually help to facilitate that spike. And then what you'll see is it will plateau. And then suddenly LinkedIn will look at it and go, oh, that's good. It will show it to your second and thirds. So it's your second and third degree connections. So the connections of your connections. And then it will get an extra sort of spike up, and then it will start to just have legs into the future like this, right? And so that is the cycle of a good post. And what this plateau piece here is actually LinkedIn assessing, actually, so yes, this post has done better than average in terms of engagement, let's have a look at it. Okay, it looks like something that we want to actually go and share. This is the second critical part. Does the second or third degrees that we do not get to be able to kind of enhance the liking share on, do they then start to like it? And if they do, then you win this extra boost. Now, a lot of people, when they do play with this pod, if their content was never going to do well anyway, if it was always destined for this, then it will just plateau here. So you've got the artificial bump, but then it's still going to plateau like it would have plateaued if you didn't do this. But if your post was going to do okay anyway, then actually this is going to do even better. So your the kind of distance and the height and the reach actually gets a more likely to do better because the post was good. So this bit here actually is the kind of the extra gift that you get given by using something like a pod. So that's why we do it. Bit of fun. So we do this once a week. People say, well, why don't we do it every day? To be honest with you, it takes a bit of time to do. And you guys have got day jobs. So we just show you the power of it. And if you over optimize as well some of your posts, then you'll never actually see what the true content is doing. So you can see Tuesdays at 12 o'clock UK time. We do it for 2 hours. It means you can stick it in your diary, you jump into there 2 hours, like and share, like and share, like and share. You can come out, you can spend half an hour playing in that. You can spend the whole 2 hours playing in that if you want to. But ultimately, if you just do a little bit, you will also get plenty back as well. So there you go. So a bit of fun. So you can check out the community. That's one of the things that we do to try and make this the best place on earth to learn LinkedIn for free. Woohoo! Okay, good stuff. And there's someone there joining already. So welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so back to the presentation. So actually, before I go down another rabbit hole, the agenda is this. So what is your one thing? And actually, then we'll take some time to answer some questions. And this is one of the things that we heard from Heidi, who mentioned a little while ago. She was talking about this, and she said she's really good at focus, but occasionally SOS, shiny object syndrome, overpower my senses. And I thought this would be quite interesting because it takes the pressure off many of us because as business owners, I think we all kind of suffer a little bit from this shiny syndrome, shiny object syndrome. And actually, one of my good friends, Jason Greystone, did a survey of his community, and he said that there was a far higher than average ADHD diagnosis or self-diagnosis amongst the entrepreneur community than say his trader community. He does trader training, and some 50% are entrepreneurs, 50% are just pure traders. And he says it was an interesting insight, and I think that is one of the entrepreneurial traits is that you kind of do have the passion and the ability to go and chase something, but also that can be a curse sometimes because you can end up doing too many things. And I think it's really this is the crux of what we're going to try and talk about today. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes my focus, my energy, my time goes woof, all over the shop. And we have to rein it in. We have to try and rein it in. And actually, sometimes if you don't rein it in, and if you maybe kind of throw too much energy at it, particularly maybe at a time that you feel more energetic, then chaos can ensue. And let me just tell you a story about when that happened to me. So this was my first marketing agency, Yomp. Ultimately, the business that we ended up scaling and exiting, and we did incredibly well there. But I got massively distracted along that journey, and it nearly created a massive problem for me. So I was running this business, but at the same time, I decided to go and put a cheeky little application in to go and run around after Lord Sugar to go and do a load of different tasks for him. So this was The Apprentice back in 2015. That's me trying to look really serious and successful at the back. And ultimately this made this was fantastic to do, great fun, massive distraction. They locked you up for 3 months. I wasn't even allowed to do my business in that time, so you can see my business probably did not do well whilst I was away. And in it meant that a load of opportunities came about. And so I decided that I would go and be a radio DJ on BBC Surrey and Sussex after that. And so I was doing the radio stuff. And then I thought one of my clients came in and said his boiler business was going bust. And I couldn't believe it because we built the website, did the logo and all the rest of it. And I thought, this is crazy. We've got, this is a great business. And so I decided then, actually, no, it shouldn't go bust. I'll buy it off you. And ended up running around with a boiler business with 7 engineers and another million revenue business that I'm trying to turn around and working through. So I'm doing that, the agency, doing the BBC News. I then thought I'd be even more clever and set up a new business with my head of creative studio, Jake, and called WPA, which was a WordPress business. So basically, first aid for your WordPress website. And so that was a third business. And at the same time, we also had this events company called the Lead Gen Summit. Oh, hello. That we were doing. We were putting on these big events and trying to coach people, and people were asking to do one-to-one coaching. It was a bloody nightmare. And I'm working every hour of the sun, completely stressed out, and every business was not doing that well, but they were all kind of just being sticky plastered and duct taped and kept going. And so at this point, at this very point, about a month after I stood on that stage there, the book came across my desk, the one thing, and actually. I think sometimes at the right time in business and the right time of journey, the right mentor appears. And this book appeared, and I read it, and I was just like, oh my God, this is exactly my life. It's basically showing that if you are not able to articulate where are you going, you can't line up the dominoes to be able to actually knock them down one by one to be able to achieve that goal. If you're trying to catch two rabbits, you get none. And at that point, I had about 17 rabbits I was running after. And so that's became the problem. And actually, if anybody has already read that and wants to kind of take another little angle at this, I also read recently Essentialism by Greg McCowan, and that also was really good. And it was quite a nice little kind of top up if you'd already read the one thing a little while ago, but there. But I ended up going to Jay Papasan, who was the author of this. I went to his goal setting retreat in Austin, Texas, which was great fun because it was I went with my wife, and it was the first time that we actually kind of went and actually reviewed life and stuff and sorted out kind of planning as a couple as well as business planning. So it's nice to kind of get her on board with what we were doing as well. So ultimately, what this helped me to realize is that to create amazing results, you've got to live with purpose. So actually know what you're doing, live with priority. So actually being able to prioritize. So if you know where you're going, your purpose is, line up those dominoes so you can then prioritize which one is the first thing you need to do. Then that gives you productivity because you know when you get to your desk every morning what you should be doing, and you've got priority with that, and it's going towards a purpose. And so to know that, it says to ask this one question. I still ask this one question to this day because sometimes it's just that kick up the butt to make me sure that I'm doing the right thing. And it's that, what is the one thing I can do such by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And it's a bit of it's every time it gets asked, it's a bit of a tongue twister, but it's got depth to it. Because actually it's saying that by doing this, things can become unnecessary, i.e., you go, ah, yeah, I actually don't really need to be doing that. I do I really need to worry about having my TikTok channel? Or should I really be worrying about doing cold email marketing? Is it really what I should be doing? Or should I watch that next YouTube demonstration on this new cool marketing tactic actually? Or should I just understand what I'm doing and what is the one thing I need to do? What is the one thing that I'm throwing myself full hog into to make myself get towards that purpose and to be able to live with that priority and productivity to create purpose? And that's the whole dominoes concept, that knowing that first domino to knock down. So when you do that, you can actually then start to look a little bit like this. Instead of your energy and time and focus going in lots of different directions, it goes in one direction. So I sold all of those businesses. It was like, it wasn't a fire sale. When I went to Austin, Texas, I was already in the process of exiting that marketing agency. It was a success. We exited to a business that went on to scale and went into a NASDAQ. It did a NASDAQ flotation. It was a great sale. It was my great success, right? I then also sold the boiler servicing business a few months after that. Again, nice exit, great, and I was bloody relieved. I wasn't getting phone calls at Christmas from clients who had a dodgy boiler fitted, and it was probably one of my engineers' fault. And I have no idea how to fix a boiler, and I just like I can't believe I'm getting a phone call Christmas Day, but nobody else is answering the phone, right? And that's not what you need in your life. Well, I didn't anyway. So got rid of the radio show. I loved doing that, but it didn't make me any money. Paid me like £200 an episode. Like it just wasn't worth it. And so you just clear out, and suddenly I could focus on my one thing, which became Million Dollar Sprint, which is our business today. And our business today helps people to scale through 1 million in revenue. It is a coaching and done for you hybrid. We give people a VA as well as give them a coaching program, and it's brilliant. But it's my one thing that we sell. It's our one product. And so this is where I want to come and give you some practical um, things that you can think about. Because the power of one for me is actually siloing your business into different sections, okay? And having one clear thing that you do to actually hit each one of these sections. So I see a business very much looking like this: awareness, consider, convert. That's your marketing, and I'm going to go into that further. And then deliver, and I see deliver. Ideally for us, it's got these three segments. Yours might be slightly different, but for us, our delivery is delight. So one amazing onboarding process. Gamify, so one way of actually helping people to win at your product. And so therefore, someone who's delighted and then starts winning at the product is going to tell other people about it. So that's then they become an advocate, and then they sell more people and they buy more of you, and then they keep on and stay loyal, and you start to grow through word of mouth as well as the awareness, consider, convert stuff. So let me break this down to you. So uh, instead of you going onto every social media channel, oh, let me get rid of that. Um, I would love you just to think about your business in this kind of awareness, consider, convert, deliver piece, right? And so if we think about awareness, where is your audience already hanging out? If you know who you're trying to target, so try and think of one type of target audience avatar. And so many people struggle with this because they're like, oh, I've got two types of people we sell to because I've got two different products and the rest of it. The problem is, if you are trying to go and say use LinkedIn to go and market yourself, if one day you're doing a post to somebody who is posting about you're posting about the pains and the issues that that one audience has, and then tomorrow you start posting about the pains and issues the other one has, what you do in LinkedIn is your first post, you might have a spike that happens like this, but then the tomorrow's post, what tends to happen is that it's like an alley-oop in basketball, where someone tees it up and the next person comes down and slams it. Your posts are like that. So tease up. So your next post starts with this kind of give and reach, and then your next post can go like this because the people that just engaged on this post are going to be automatically shown your post tomorrow. So your next post that happens, so you'll get into the feed. Now, what happens with LinkedIn is if you've just posted about, how you help farmers to be able to, get better crops. But also one of the other things you sell to warehouses to be able to do something else because you're selling sensors or something like that. So the farmers will see your post here, and that's great. And then tomorrow you're going to go and post, hey, dear warehouse owner, and your post is going to be like crickets because these people here are the first people that are going to see it because they saw it yesterday, and you're going to get no likes, no engagement, no comments. And so it goes before any of the people in your audience actually start to see it. This is where I talk about your connections. Many of us, when you first go onto LinkedIn, you're like, yo, LinkedIn, be my friend. Come on. Yeah, just accept everybody, like your old friends from school and your mates from the village. Everybody's your mate on LinkedIn when you first join because you just want more connections. But the issue is, it's exactly the same scenario. If you start putting posts out for accountants, but only 10% of your audience is accountants, then you might get when you first post like 200-person reach. So 200 impressions you kind of get when you first post. If only 20 of those people are accountants and those accountants have to have been on LinkedIn in that exact moment at that exact time, then you might get like one like. because 1 out of 20 actually was there at that moment to see that post. And so what happens? You get your 200 and then you get nothing, right? And so if you more look like this, like 10% non-accountants and the rest of it was all accountants, then you're going to get 180 people that are going to be the best people and only 20 people that are non-accountants. So you might get, 20 likes and comments, and then suddenly it's like, "Oh," and you like we talked at the pod at the start, now you're cooking because more people are liking and sharing. Of course, then your accountants, they tend to also have network with other accountants. So LinkedIn is like, oh, okay, it looks like accountants are liking this. So this, I'm going to share it to the second and third degree connections of your connections who are also accountants. Not the second and third degree connections that are, insurance brokers, because it only seems to be the accountants that are doing this. So so the algorithm finds people that like it. So hence why we need to set ourselves up for success by producing content for one audience, being connected with one audience, and really focusing and double downing on that power of one audience. And ultimately, then we can get really clever because then we can start to go, right, here's a list of the people we want to try and target. So we're going to start to connect with that one audience. We're going to produce content for that one audience. And we're going to then start to build that momentum. So now, when we go and do this, we can invite them to our consideration. So, what is consideration? Well, consideration is where someone goes from, I know that you help accountants to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So you're something to do with coaching accountants. Say you're a coach for accountant. Okay, so you've something to do with some to accountants and helping them grow or something along those lines. Okay, and then the consideration piece is, oh, you've invited me to an event where you're going to teach me about how you can help accountants to be able to do, generate 10,000 leads on LinkedIn or whatever it is, right? So now, okay, cool, right? I'm going to go and spend some time with you to learn more about this. This is the consideration. I'm considering you as being an expert. Nice. Okay, so how do we do this? We say have one weekly moment, right? So if you think about your week, if you target one set of our audience and have one weekly moment, then all of your marketing can focus and all of your messaging can focus on trying to get people to that one weekly moment. And that weekly moment could be a podcast that you do every week, could be an event you do every week, could be a long form article you do every week, could be some sort of long form video you do every week, but just one. Because if you had the world's best podcast for accountants looking to grow their business, you would never have to worry about getting another client again. But the person that has the world's best podcast for accountants, I can guarantee you, focused on that solely to make it that. And they might now, you might look at them now going, oh, they've got this amazing podcast and they've got a YouTube channel and they've got this great, Instagram channel. That's because once they made the world's best podcast for accountants, they were able to afford a team and now the team does all of this. The team does all the other bits and kind of you use it. But I bet the basis of theirs is their podcast. It's probably them videoing their podcast and it gets sliced and diced. Why do you think Joe Rogan's so famous? World's best podcast. Why do you think some of the YouTubers are so great? Mr. Beast, why is he so great? The world's best YouTube channel. Now, he can do TV shows now. He can have chocolate bars now. But it starts off because he had the power of his one weekly moment. He put whole hogs into it. So what are the things that you're building? So when we talk about trying to make LinkedIn for breakfast the best place on earth to learn LinkedIn for free, it's because we want it to be our best place. And so we set that mantra up and we try and really work hard for that. What are you doing to actually make that happen? Because I think you're probably trying to do too much and you should focus on just one. And then once you've got your one weekly moment, what is your one to one? So awareness, consider, convert, and then deliver. So we need to get people into one to one, but everybody makes the mistake of making this one to one hey, let's have a discovery call so I can sell you some stuff. Or the other flip side, which is the wrong side, hey, let's have a virtual coffee so we can both learn a bit more about each other and nobody really knows who's selling who. And actually, what we want to do is we want to say, hey, why don't you jump on my call and I'm going to go through a workshop with you where we can look at how you can solve this pain by looking at these solutions. And at the end of it, if you agree, we don't, you don't even have to say this before they book. You just book it, give them a great experience, give them value. And at the end of it, you just open the door to say, oh, by the way, this is the pitch part. If you want me to help you with this, I'm more than happy. I've got a product that could actually do this, got a program that could do this. And then they're like, well, yeah, I've got tons of value at your one too many podcast, event, whatever it is, article, newsletter. And now I've got tons of value at your one to one. So yeah, you've shown that you can do value. So why would I not just come and then buy your thing? Because I want to get the result that you are now aligned yourself to and proven that you can help me with. I want to get there faster and I want to do it more efficiently. So I'm happy to spend money with you to do that. And that is then you get to deliver your one thing. Because, of course, if you have one product, you don't sell people bronze, silver, and gold. If it's bronze, silver, and gold, you're just confused on actually which product I should have. Tell me what I should buy. Don't give me variety. Just say, hey, for you to hit this result here, you need this one product because that's the one thing that I sell and I do it better than anything else. And that's all that I'm doing is this price because that's the fair price. There is no argument on price. It's this price because we get this result because I've proven I can help you here. I've proven I help you here. So therefore I can sell you at a decent price here. And so now I've got one audience for awareness, one weekly moment, one value session, one flagship product. Power of one. And that's all I got to say about that. So thoughts. Who's tried this? Who's played with trying to have one thing to sell? Where's the hiccups? Into the room, gang. Would love to get a bit of feedback from you. Um, I know that was a lot, but hopefully some of this lands. I'm trying to sell an experience, a glamping holiday. So how can this work? Well, the experience is the best experience that you will ever have in your life. Disney has thousands of rides, but it's just one world. And you come along to Disney World and you get the Disney experience. Now, it doesn't matter when you get someone to buy your flagship product, like if you get someone to buy the ticket to Disney World, you can upsell, cross-sell, through sell them till the cows come home. But I still brought the trip to Disney World. The Disney World trip was the thing in my head. And and I knew it would cost probably 10 grand. And so I'm going there, I'm doing that. And then Disney are going to try and make me spend 12 grand because they're going to try and upsell me by 20%, probably end up making me spend 15, right? But the whole point of it is in your mind, you're getting through the front door and you buy the experience. And so that's why, you know. Um, Cool. So there's a few things. So also, if you've got a question, maybe also if you could use like the reaction button and ask it. I'm going to try and trawl through the chat, but it'd be loads easier if you kind of did the little hand and then actually asked it as well if you can. Not everybody can do, so I'm going to try and do it in the chat as well. But also it would help if I heard from any of you guys. Just whilst I look for the next person who wants to do a question or wants to say it, if you would like us to go through and help, so we talk about wanting to make this the best place on earth to learn LinkedIn for free. Genuinely, we have a free LinkedIn profile audit where we will look at your LinkedIn profile audit, your LinkedIn profile one to one with you, and we will sit down and go through it and say, hey, you can improve your headline here, you can improve your banner here, you can actually look at your content strategy here. Yeah, we talked last week about, I'll give you the link to this because we have a few sessions this week and then that's oh yeah, and there's loads on Tuesday. So grab one of those before the month's end. I'm putting that into the chat now because we talked about content strategy, we talked about the way it's worked, and just to let you guys know, we talked about yeah, yet last week we talked about 100,000 views within a week. Look, so here you go, post impressions, last 7 days, 109,000 views. And this has come about through a number of different posts. But look, 3 days ago, 23 hours ago, and 2 days ago. So it's just three posts in the last 3 days that ultimately has netted over 100,000 views. It's that type of content strategy that we talk about. It's that type of way of going deep and focusing on one audience, again, within that LinkedIn profile audit. If you are struggling with things like impressions and comments and leads and reach, and these aren't just comments for the sake of comment, these are people asking to come along. So, for example, many of you might have seen this. This is the call to action on this is comment, and we'll get you the link to join this event. So if you're not getting people to your event, if you're not getting signups, you're not getting leads, look, we got 63 people commenting on this to find out more about an event. So it's that type of work that we'll talk about within this profile audit. So do jump onto one of those if you haven't done. Fiona, over to you. And then as we're answering, I'll look into the chat to try and find another one, or if people want to line up across the front to be able to do it. Fiona, over to you.
Yes, I'm just answering that question about going down deep and sticking in a lane, as it were. And I think identifying some years ago that I work with leaders in STEM who are subject matter experts to help them engage with their audiences effectively really helped me, because what has happened in the last few years is, because that is my focus, I I wrote a book so that people have got an entry level cost that they can pay, a small commitment if they want the book with everything in it. And what I've done this year with that same thing in mind is filled a gap somewhere in the middle where I've got an online academy so people can do group coaching and self-led learning, which means if their company isn't paying for training for me to come in and they can't afford one-to-one training, there's a midpoint between the book and the coaching. And I honestly believe that that focus on what I do and who I serve has helped me see opportunities in that strip, as it were,
I love it. So in terms of how is that middle product going?
slowly,
Mm.
slowly. It could do with a lot more. I'm investing in marketing it in the next 6 months. So yeah, hopefully that's going to be a lot
So here's the thing. I don't
better.
necessarily think that that is the power of one. And so
Okay.
actually what we tend to see, and a lot of people will tell you this, is to work upon, oh God, why is this not working out? Just try and get rid of, there we go, perfect. Um, get rid of my doodles. A lot of people say this to you to try and get some sort of, you know, a value ladder of products, right? And actually, what tends to happen is that you say you do like a £10 book in here, and then you've got sort of how much is the training mastermind thing?
The book is 22 quid. The
Yeah,
um what training the online course is 497,
yeah. And then how much is the coaching or just ballpark is
between 1200 and 2 grand, depending on,
yeah.
and then
So
the training is 2 grand plus.
yeah. So what basically you have is you go, right, I've got this kind of category. So all across here is one kind of category, right? So this is sort of, leadership or whatever it is, right? And so what we then do is we go, okay, well, if I have a book and then I have like this course, but what you find is that actually this is audience one, this is audience two, this is another audience, and then this is another audience. So what you've got to do to sell a two grand training program is you've got to hit up L&D, you've got to get HR, you've got to do big pitches, you've got to put corporates in, you've got to do a whole load of work to sell these kind of training programs. And then if you're trying to hit a 497 piece, you've got to go direct to the B. It's basically B2C, going straight to the individual. You've got to sell the individual on it. They're going to have individual things. You've got to probably tailor this in a slightly different way. You've got to do a completely different campaign, completely different outreach type of strategy. Books, you might need to try and talk to publishers or you're trying to sell it, but actually, are you trying to sell this book? Is it written to the HR managers or is it written to the B2C? Is
It's
it written to the individuals?
it's
And so,
doing well and it's getting a steady audience, Richard. So, and it goes alongside every other step on the
so
ladder. But I
what
also do keynote speaking, which is
keynote
where
speaking? So it's another one. So what I'm saying is
which
that
is what it gets the training actually every time.
so what you have is you've got two audiences. You've got a B2C audience and you've got a B2B audience. And this is the thing that's going to actually take all of your time away. This will be the good idea that will just turn into the digital dust in here. And I just see this all the time. And I know that you spent loads of time on this, and it's probably going to make you feel like, oh, Richard doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, no.
And no, and it's fine because actually I don't know what I'm talking about, and it doesn't matter. But this is what I tend to see is that you will find I can't for whatever reason delete that, but you will find this will require so much energy to get people to pay. And actually, what if you put that energy into creating more of a funnel that worked well? So let me just kind of show you how. If you're going into corporate and selling that type of funnel, then yes, get a what I would call hello. So F2F. So free, blow people's minds with free, sell them flagship. So if what that would look like, and you might get paid for doing some of the speaking, but I would try and find as many speaking gigs as possible. And then at those speaking gigs, doesn't matter if you're getting paid or not, I would try and sell people the book off the back of it because the books and the speaking and all the rest of it goes really well. And you're trying to get on as many stages as possible. Your weekly moment, I think, should be like a podcast or something along those lines because going on a podcast is great because you can invite lots of people who run events onto your podcast, interview them. They then meet, see you, talk to you. They then say, "Oh, we got an event coming up. You should speak at it." So then the podcast gets you more speaking gigs. The speaking gigs sells you the books, but that's just a byproduct. That's like giving people a business card. And then all of that then sells your flagship, which is your training. Because ultimately, I know that you don't want to do one-to-one for the rest of your life. You might say, "Oh, I'd love doing my one-to-ones, and I never want to give it up completely." But you can't. One-to-one is time for money. So the future of a bigger business, if you want to scale, if you want to just do a few one-to-ones and the odd program and stuff, no problem at all. It's a perfect lifestyle business. No, I've got no problem with that. But this business scales by selling large flagship training programs to corporate, and then corporate buys the intellectual property of the training program. You bring associates in to actually then go and teach this. So now you've got corporates buying your flagship program. You are no longer doing one-to-one. You're no longer doing delivery of the flagship program, and you've got a business that is running without you. You just sit on stages or stand on them, whichever one's your preference, speaking. You do a great podcast that feeds this machine constantly. You have salespeople that can actually go and start to sell this thing for you ultimately. So you have salespeople who sell the flagship to the corporates, people deliver the flagship to the corporates. You just have a great podcast, do some great speaking, jobs are good, and that's how that business scales. And that just allows you to do a few things well instead of many things along the whole. Instead of trying to sell the whole pipe, sell the juicy bit at the top. Does that
Thank
help?
you.
Or are you going to hate me and
It
say, no, I don't
no,
know?
it does help, Richard, and I really respect your knowledge and your wisdom. What I do have what I do have an issue with is that I'm not necessarily, this almost comes with a certain amount of shame to say this, but I'm not ashamed. I have got something between a lifestyle business and a business that I'm happy to grow bigger. I'm honestly not wanting my destination is not what you've mapped out there. Because I've got that quality of life. and that satisfaction and that passion in what I do, where there, I don't know if anyone's identified it yet, but I'm something in between, Richard, and that's got to be okay, hasn't it?
Oh, it's got to be okay. However you want to go along the line. What I would say is actually, if you enjoy the speaking and you'd enjoy doing the podcasting piece, you could find yourself in a place where you just do that for the majority of the time, and then have a product that is delivered into corporates off the back of it, which you'd have to start deliver to start off with, but it just means that there's less other things to get in the way. Do you see how
Yes.
that's how it can work? Um, so interesting. Anyway, I'll move on to the next bit. So there's SJ in the chat. Thank you for that, Fiona. I hope that helped. SJ says, I've eternally been trying with no results. Perhaps I'm not focused enough on the one. I'm selling one-to-one coaching program and a corporate wellness workshop focusing on holistic gut health and whole person health and energetics. I'm a GP nutritionist and various other things. So I think the whole point of this, is it comes down to how many platforms are you trying to run. And I'm not sure if where SJ is, or if she's just happy to, I presume it's her, but happy just to have the oh, hello, good stuff.
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Hello. Are you on multiple platforms?
So I was initially on Instagram and I was just very frustrated with the slow growth I was having. So I came over to LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Okay, so how are you? And so are you connecting and building out relationships and starting to kind of grow that audience on
Yeah,
LinkedIn?
yeah, for sure. So I had a really helpful one-to-one with Jay, and I think that was at the end of August, end of June. Yes, sometime over summer. So yeah, I am focusing more on LinkedIn. I do have a podcast as well, and what you just said with the last lady was really helpful. So I need to get back on that. I kind of left that for summer. So yes, yeah.
So what I try and do, so there's a few clients that have got large businesses that we coach at the moment with $1 million sprint, and their big accounts that have come from corporates have come from podcast interviews that then
Mhm.
they kept in contact with. So a podcast interview is like basically having a B2B meeting with someone. So you invite them, or you say, hey, I'd love to invite you onto my podcast. We talk about this. I think it'd be great to see how your company is approaching this and have a discussion around it. So you invite that kind of learning development health people. You get them onto that podcast. You then film that with them. You then send it back to them with a few assets to say, hey, if you wanted to share this, great, no worries at all. Here's a picture of you with the podcast and stuff. I'm going to be launching on this date. You share it. Then you hook back to them and say, oh, I just wanted to check in and just wonder if you've got 10 minutes for a virtual coffee. I just want to let you know how your podcast did, plus also got a couple of other ideas. Bam, that second coffee. Yes, you've done a lot of work, but that second coffee is where the magic is. You can say, hey, I've been putting together this lunch and learn thing, and I'm just wondering to test it out on a few companies. I was wondering whether or not you guys be interested in a lunch and learn that I could do for your people. You would? Okay, great. Bam, you're now through the front door doing a training in location or virtually for their company. And then you go back and say, oh, people love that. What are you doing for your wellness at the moment? I've got this 12-month program where we're doing something every single month that we could come in and do. Would that be something you're interested in? And that's when you then are pitching them the big corporate product. And yes, that is like two different meetings you're doing with people, and there's time involved in there, but it's marketing time for the podcast because that asset you're creating to be able to go far and wide, and they're going to share it to their people. So that's your next wave of audience, and it will grow. And you want to make it the best podcast ever, so that's fine. So you want great guests. The second meeting is the sales meeting, which you would normally do anyway. And then the third thing is then the test drive. When you go, you do you're giving them a test drive. You're a car dealership. You're giving them a test drive. That's what the lunch and learn is, and then of course they buy the car, right?
Mhm.
So that's how I do it. And if you can then start to have a machine that rolls that out en masse. So lots of invites to people, lots of podcast episodes happening, lots of kind of like test drives happening. you will then start to be swamped with opportunity. And you've got to, and if nothing else, what's the one thing you can do? So by doing it, nothing else is relevant and becomes unimportant. It's that one question, right? Nothing else matters. It's just interviews, sharing, test drives, job done.
Yeah. So apologies. The first thing you said you said to get the kind of the corporate wellness managers or whoever on as guests. Is that what you said
Yeah,
initially?
so
Yeah.
HR. So basically,
Mhm.
the premise is would love to know what your organization
Got you.
is
Yeah.
doing. Love to interview to say what your organization's approach is to wellness. This is what we're doing. My podcast is all about how large companies, tackle wellness and what advice that we can gain from that. So you tickle them under the chin to say, hey, I'd love to know from your
Mm.
expertise. Um, and then, of course, they're going to open up to you about all the things that they do. But of course, that's just great research to be able to sell into at a later date.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank
No
you.
worries at all. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jodie, over to you.
Hi, thank you. So I've developed a mindset profiling tool and it's relevant. So it measures change readiness. There's 12 years of research in this, got a PhD in it. It's relevant for coaches. There's a whole training program. It's relevant for corporate, so L&Ds, HRDs, and it's relevant for any change or training consultancy. So I'm really clear about what I'm offering. I've done this for a while. I've got great case studies. It's almost like if I sell it, one assessment or I sell 1,000 assessment, my workload is the same. So it's got a great scale ability. But I really struggle, am I going into coaches? Am I going into corporates? Everybody's going to be interested in this. I find in the past when I've been trying to just sell to coaches, it's a lot of time wasting. I may as well sell into the L&D where they're running big programs and they're going to use it at scale. Um, so a lot of what you've been saying has resonated. I feel like I need to invite everybody into this
Mm.
because there is something in there for everybody. If you're a coach, you could go through the training, you could deliver it yourself. We have a new AI integration with it. Um, so
The
yeah.
issue is the coaches want to talk to you, right? And the LRDs don't.
Well, I just don't think there's been enough awareness. I think
Yeah.
when I get in front of the L&Ds, they're interested.
Yeah.
Deloitte have used
But they're
it,
too
Accenture have
busy.
used it. And I think I've just not known how to market. So
Yeah.
when I've got in front of the right people, they've been interested.
This is can be the problem as well when you're marketing to different audiences. So one audience will give you a false positive. So it's a really good example. You've got corporate HR people, which is basically where everybody goes to try and sell something to corporates. So they are completely battered in
Yeah.
terms of inbox, which is why flipping the switch and inviting them to be a podcast interviewer is different to the rest of the stuff they're getting. Um, and then the false positive is the coaches because they they're on LinkedIn trying to sell,
Yeah.
and do stuff. So they are available to be interrupted, and they will come back to you and say, "Oh, that's interesting." But of course, some of them may be good, but at the same time, it's smaller volumes and harder work for those
I'd also
volumes. So
think there's a big like if you get in selling into the programs, so I can do it for you, the business can do it for you. I then could offer work to coaches, which would definitely encourage them to do the training and then have a yearly user fee. It's exactly what Insights and Disc and Myers-Briggs, that's what they all do. There's real potential because I know a lot of coaches on there, they're not busy, they're looking for work. That's the reality of it.
but did Disc start there?
No, just have been at it forever, and
Yeah.
they've
And
got a
they
budget.
started, but which audience did they start selling to? Corporates or
Probably
coaches?
coaches, I would think. I don't know, to be fair. I really actually
Definitely
don't know.
corporates.
Right, okay.
Yeah. It would
Yeah,
have been born out of a
right.
corporate and they would have used it for profiling and then people would have brought it into other different corporates. So they got the scale
Mm,
because large companies brought large training, which means many people then saw it. Those people then came out, finished, took redundancies, set up on their own, took themselves to businesses, and then they're like, oh, but I'd love to still offer disc, and they're like, well, we would make you a disc qualified
And
person, you
then
can then speak to your
spread.
client, and it went that way.
So
So
would
it
you go
definitely
for the
started.
L&Ds? Would you
A
go for the
hundred, a
corporate?
100%. That's your audience that's going to pay good money. You
Yeah,
only need two of those clients
yeah,
to make a massive difference in your
totally.
business.
And
Whereas two
actually, the
coaches, you're going to
L&D,
make a, yeah,
yeah, and also you find that those people, at some point may want to go and do their own thing as a coach. Um, but
exactly.
I definitely see if you can get the programs, you could then offer work to coaches. I can already see it happening. I'm being asked about it.
Yeah.
So you get the assessment and you get the feedback,
Yeah.
that offers a coach work.
So
Um,
you need to get an in with those large companies and get it out as
it
a
just
as
takes
a
longer.
test
So
drive.
get
A
them
hundred percent takes longer. Yeah.
into like a weekly webinar, a weekly podcast thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You gotta, but also you gotta start being a bit of a sniper as well. Go to their trade shows, go and meet them, go and see
Right,
them, go to their networking events, go to anything where you know your audience is going to be hanging out, and go and try and have a coffee with them.
right.
Go and actually remember, like you go from trying to machine gun
Yeah.
loads and loads and loads of individuals to laser targeting one or two individuals within large companies that will make the massive difference. And that's a different framing, but that is the way. And that's how your business then goes, right, I've got two or three big contracts. That's great. Then you use that to piggyback off. And suddenly the smaller deals will just start as come towards like a magnet.
Mm.
They'll start coming towards
I
you.
mean, I've started to ask for introductions. So my warm contacts, can you introduce me to those people? And that's worked quite well because it almost when you get that intro, you've got the permission to talk directly about what you're doing instead of having to court them for 6 months.
Yeah. And when you first go in, I'd love to present with you my product. Don't do that. Say,
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to get your feedback upon
Yes.
this specific thing. I really would love to get for you to bounce a couple of ideas off me just to show you this and see what you would think about this. So that's the middle. I think the best one is to do the podcast because that's complete pressure off.
Yeah.
The second conversation can be the feedback conversation, and the third thing is the test drive, and then the fourth thing is they buy the whole thing.
Nice. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
No worries. Cheers, Jelly. And
Thank you.
that's it, guys. So just before you go, if you want to spend some time going through those things and actually get some of these insights, we've got this profile audit, and so get the time to go through that. If you've been on one of these profile audits and you feel like actually, yes, maybe I could do with a bit of additional help. And you'd like to have one of our VAs to be able to help you to be able to do this LinkedIn and marketing side, don't be afraid to rebook that profile audit and then just say in the notes that you'd just like to talk about actually going to the next stage or reaching out to one of our team if that is the case. But the first thing to do, get a free profile audit, gang. I'll put it back into the chat there for you before I close the meeting. So it's in there for you now. So click on that link and have it available on a tab if you haven't done already. Right, my friends. Thank you. I hope that helps. So I'll either see you on a profile audit or I will see you at a LinkedIn for breakfast next week, 9 a.m. And if you're $1 million sprinter, I'm closing the room and then I'm reopening it for our 10 o'clock drop-in clinic. So I'm going to close the room, but do jump back on this link in 3 minutes. Big love, guys.